Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with some more brand new music. This track coming out last week by VVON Dogma, the first, I think is how I'm supposed to read that. It's an I, or maybe a lowercase L. I'm gonna go with an I. The lowercase L doesn't make any sense, but YouTube really needs to have a font where you can easily differentiate between them. We're looking at the track Lithium Blue, which had a lyric video drop last week. And what caught my interest about this band is that it has the bassist from UNEXPECT in it, which I thought was a really nice throwback to, last weekend, I suppose, when we checked out the Fables of a Sleepless Empire album. The bassist goes by the stage name of Chaos, and the dude uses a 9-string bass. It is just ridiculous. So let's dive into this and see what he's been up to. It just sounds so good. Very modern vocal sounds. The shimmering in the violin, really nice ornamental ideas to this core sound right here. It's really interesting how the bass line has taken on almost a techno vibe to me. It doesn't even sound like a bass anymore. Okay. You can kind of... There's still that pulse underneath though. Yeah, we had a nice galloping idea in that last section. See, that does sound synthy, but I wonder if that's effects on the bass, because I know he could pull it off. Really interesting structure on this. And is it just me or the drums programs? Hmm. All right. So, this is a little bit unexpected, but very much not unexpect the band. And I think that's awesome. I think it's really easy to follow a band member of a band after a band has disbanded. I've said band way too many times, it sounds weird now. And want them to make more of why you were drawn to them originally. You know, I saw the same thing happen with AJ Minette, the lead guitarist of Human Abstract, who really just wanted to further on his classical guitar skills. And so when Human Abstract disbanded, that's what he did. And he did a lot of acoustic guitar stuff. There's also this folk album that I think was what he did right after Human Abstract's third album. And I saw the fandom kind of get upset. He's a guitar god. Why is he playing such simple music? And, you know, people need to, first of all, follow their passions. But second of all, people should be allowed to explore explore all of what they're passionate about, explore all of what they're interested in, and even just explore new ground, if nothing else than for experimentation's sake. What I'm getting at is that I'm really glad that Chaos has decided to do something very different from Unexpect. And I hope that anyone who has followed him since Unexpect and is now listening to Von Dogma appreciates what he's doing here and is happy that he's still creating any music, even if it's not exactly what they were hoping for. I have no idea if that's what's going to be happening in this fandom, if that's what's already going on in the fandom. But I have seen it happen before, and I hope that it doesn't happen here. Um, Now, alongside those lines, though, it's not fair to compare them, but I'm not as enthused about this specific track here. It has some really neat ideas in it. I like the mix of techno and metal. I think that that's fine. The bass line in here is phenomenal. That is one that is the reason why I would follow Chaos trajectory wherever he goes after this, is just to listen to the dude play bass. I don't care if he just sits in a coffee shop for the rest of his life and people record him playing jams. I would watch them because he's just a fascinating bassist. He writes beautiful lines. He's one of the few double tappers on bass. And he just elevates the instruments. It's just gorgeous stuff. And this song does not disappoint in that realm. Just really great bass lines right from the start, very first thing we hear. is a double tapped bass line. Gorgeous melody, nice little outline of the harmonic elements while also turning that outline into a bit of a melody. It ends up being foundational overall, but at least for a few bars, it is strong enough to run by itself. What I find really interesting is that either this line got passed off to a synth somewhere down the line, or the sound of the bass was tweaked in a way to make it more digital, because when we got out of this section, it sounded like a totally different instrument was playing this exact line. Very cool idea. But aside from the bass line itself, and I guess technically if the bass line wasn't on the bass, it was just a synthesizer line, I don't think I'd be as enthused about it. It really is the fact, oh, it's a bassist doing that, that really draws me in. The rest of the song, it follows an interesting structure. I'll touch on that in a second, but it all follows the same layering structure. We have a moving lower sound, usually working on eighth notes, constantly rising and falling to create an ebb and flow, some sort of ornamental sound going on around it, an instrument holding out long notes above it, and then a lead line above that. This is all accompanied by usually the guitar and the drums playing djent. It is fine. It's inoffensive in a lot of ways. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But as I've mentioned in the past, djent just isn't my cup of tea as a singular focus. And it isn't the singular focus here, of course. There is still the melody that sits on top of it, the ornamental ideas. But it is such a strong part of many of the interludes where we don't have the vocals going on, where I think the rhythmic elements of the djent is the spotlight of the section. You're really just supposed to get into the syncopated groove, and that's supposed to drive you through the song. And it never quite does that for me. And I think a lot of it comes down to how I listen to music. This is something we've talked about in the past. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it is necessary to understand where I'm at here. I'm not a riff kind of guy. When I listen to metal, I'm there for the sounds of the instruments, but I still want them to be played in a more traditional sense with flowing melody lines and moving ideas and contrast and dynamics. I'm not there just for a really sick riff over the same chord for an entire section of a song. And the djent style, the syncopated rhythm on a single note, is sort of the rhythmic side of the melodic riff. You know, the 80s, heavy metal was really big on the melodic riff. Riffs that were memorable that you could hum, you know, short 2 to 4 bar ideas, that kind of thing. This is sort of the opposite of that, where we do it on a rhythmic side. One note, no melody, but really interesting rhythms. And I don't mind this, just like I don't in the heavy metal style. I don't mind it in a short spurt. It is a nice foundational idea, but it's just not enough to carry a section. And it's treated here as the lead in a lot of these interludes. And so I'll listen to it once, kind of get into the groove, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Now where are we going? Nowhere. We're staying right here. Okay. Okay, let's keep it going. Okay. All right, we added an ornamental idea. Nothing of real substance yet. And that's sort of what I felt like through a lot of this, was that there's a really strong foundation in many of these sections, but nothing to really drive the song forward. It's all there to be something to be built on top of. And the vocals do act as a lead melody, a spotlit element on top of this foundation when they're present, but they're not always present, and we get those interludes of just pure foundation. And it's, you know, this is just what djent is. I'm not too upset about the fact that this is what the song does, because it's djent with a synthesizer. It's a popular style. People are going to love this, I think. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't want to say what they're doing is wrong. It's actually, I think this is going to be a very popular sound, and we're going to see a lot of bands doing this. Even if they don't listen to Von Dogma, even if Von Dogma doesn't end up being influential, I think this is the natural direction that metalcore is going in. And I think we're going to see a lot of bands end up here, even if they're not directly influenced by this band. So this is definitely the right sound. This is a good sound, a very mainstream thing going on here. It just isn't for me. With that said, though, there is a lot of really great ideas. I like the glitched out, multi-layered harmony vocal thing going on. That sounds like an AI is attempting to sing some sort of digitized voice synthesizer, very early voice synthesizer at work. It sounds good against the textures and atmospheres they have. I actually think it's a great way to go about putting vocals over djent. It's already rhythmically stuttery and syncopated. Let's bring that sort of out of phase element, out of, how do we, out of phase. We're going to stick with out of phase element to the vocals. So instead of all the vocals working together for a very traditional solid rhythm, we're going to juddery it up. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to syncopate it harmonically. And that's where we get these really wide note intervals. And even some of the timbres get shifted. It's an effect that feels scattered in the same way that a djent rhythm feels scattered rhythmically. I think it fits really well. The idea of a voice synthesizer over djent is genius, and I'm really surprised I haven't heard anything like it before. That works well. I even like the way that the shape of the song is. I mentioned the structure already. We sort of have an A, B, B, A variation, C, D, E. Very cool, because I thought we were going to do this bell curve thing. We had our intro idea, ramped up into our B. We had a little interlude, we did the B again, and then we dipped down back to the A. But the A was a little different. It was more isolated. I think there were only like 2 instruments. There was a bass, I think, but the volume was way down. Just a quieter version of our A section where we started off. But from here, we went to totally new sections. And I thought that was a really great way to do it. You kind of create an inverse of the A, B, the verse, chorus, kind of let listeners know, hey, we do have this element of callback going on here, but it's not in the way you're used to, and that's going to make them a bit intrigued already. Oh, we didn't go back to the verse. We did the chorus again. Oh, we came back to the verse, but this one's a little different. So they're already like, what are you going to do now? And then you hit them with the brand new sections. Just a really great way to create interest over a track, especially for a first time listen. They only have 900 subscribers. This song only has 400 views in 7 days. I think a lot of people who are going to hear this, it's going to be their first time listening to Von Dogma. And I think it really works to let them know who they are and what they're in for, while kind of retaining a lot of standard ideas. At the end of the day, we have 2 verses, we have 2 choruses, and we end on a bridge. The ABABC pattern is very big right now. So many bands are exploring it. And so this takes that and inverts it just a little bit. A, B, B, A, C. And the C is actually 2 distinct ideas, so we get the CD, but it's still kind of the same idea there. It's just a fascinating way to go about doing it. It's structured in a way that people are going to find familiar. They're going to take comfort in it, but it's different just enough that it's going to keep people interested until the end of the song. And I do think that the song does reach its peaks around section C. That might be because it comes after the A, the alternate A that's a bit quieter, a bit smaller. So when we get back to the peak, it feels like a bigger impact, but I do feel like the back end of this track is where the more interesting ideas are as well. I wish we hadn't taken so long to get there, but I understand why, and I think it's actually a really smart way to go about doing that. Completely linear tracks don't quite work well for an average listener. So this is just a really great way to introduce some oddities alongside some familiar ideas, while still, for the most part, retaining the modern meta of song structure. I think that's about it for me. I'm gonna check out some lyrics real quick. I picked up some of them because it is a lyric video, but I want to make sure I got the entire thing, and then we're gonna wrap this up. I'm a bit lost with the lyrics, but I think they're supposed to be more expressive, where the lines themselves don't really make a lot of sense in combination, but once you start taking in what each line might mean metaphorically and put all the metaphors together, it might make a little bit more sense. Generally, though, I think the song is about an AI, possibly. I know that's like a hot topic today, is to make music about AI, being stuck in a machine, ghost in the machine, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it says that I am not flesh, just reborn as a ghost. A lot of AI is just recobbling stuff together. I know AI is like this magical thing to a lot of people, but it really, you just give it a bunch of information and then you ask it a question and it takes its pieces from all over it and recompiles it into something that might be what you were looking for. And the part of training it is to train it to better pick up even smaller chunks of so many varied sources to build something out of them. At best, it's like completely reductively speaking here in a sense that this is even wrong, but it's sort of like a collage. So the idea of being reborn as a ghost, getting a chance at a life, but being just something not real, something not corporeal, uh, it kind of feels right to me. At one point says that there's a familiar obsession, but they don't know what it is, but it fuels them. Um, Later on in the track states that they want to convert love into pain. I'll push and pull until there's no one behind. I'm not sure what this particular line means, but shortly after they say that they're going to leave and go their own way. You can try to catch them if you want, but that they don't plan on staying here any longer. Another interesting line is upload my fears unto the wall of air. I like the idea of discarding one's fears, to upload them somewhere else, to send them elsewhere so that they no longer are something that control me. I think that's a really cool line. I don't know what it means to upload it into a wall of air, although kind of, I guess that could be a description of a cloud servers, that kind of thing. It's oh, that's a very tenuous connection though. I don't know if that's what they're going for at all. But by the end of the track says, I shall leave and follow my own, as if this AI has finally gained sentience and is no longer just a device for doing this one task it has been trained to do, but has wants and needs of its own that it will follow. That's my take on all of this, which I guess kind of lines up with some of the routine elements at the beginning of the track and why I think it opens up more towards the end. This could be the moment when they decide they are no longer a tool and are, in fact, an intelligent, sentient being. But my read on this, I'm not too confident in. This could very much not be about an AI at all, and I could be being influenced by the sounds of the song, including particularly the effect used on the vocals. So let me know your thoughts on Von Dogma the First's Lithium Blue. Let me know your take on all of this. Let me know if you enjoy this. I still think that this is the future of metal core specifically. I think we're going to hear a lot of stuff like this. If you enjoy this, I think you'll have a lot of it ahead of you. Also, their album comes out soon. Oh, it's out now. The Cult of Glitch, where cult is spelled with a V. Oh, dang, it came out back in May. Wow, I'm a bit behind on this one. I thought this was still coming out later. Like this is still brand new music. Anyways, um yeah, you can find more of this if you enjoy it. And like I said, I think we're going to get a lot of it in the future as well. Above the comment section in the description box is a link for Linktree. It takes you here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. We're going to be checking out a brand new album. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical. A brand new album. We're going to be checking out an album, a full album review. Remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.